Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello friends, welcome. Welcome again in our series of lectures on NDDS. Today, myself, Dr. Ajay Semelty, is going to address the drug targeting. The first part of drug targeting will be dealt in this module. Now, let us go to the learning outcome very fastly. After completing this module, you will be able to identify the reasons of targeting. You will be able to identify and rank the targeting methods and compare the methods of targeting. As far as the lesson plan is concerned, we'll be covering this module under the heads: why to target, targeted drug delivery systems, advantages of TDDS, targeted drug delivery system, its features, types of targeting, and passive targeting. Now let us start our discussion. Little back we'll go. Must be approved by authorities. Each and every pharmaceutical preparation must be approved by the authorities, national authorities like FDA, SUKL, EMEA. These are the regulatory bodies which approve the pharmaceutical preparation. Rigorous quality control and quality assurance during manufacturing with surveillance and national authorities to ensure the safety and effectiveness is required. We must ensure the stability, efficacy, and safety. So stability, safety, and efficacy, these are the three most important parameters in which each and every pharma sector has to focus. Another point is ensuring the patent protection. It's a challenge. You know, we have discussed it a little bit earlier also in our earlier module that patent protection. What is the patent protection? I have a drug which I have drug molecule which I have patented as a pharmaceutical company, and it is going to expire in the a few months or maybe in few years. So we will be prepared to having that patent protection. So how can we protect the patent? By developing the NDDS, by developing the targeted drug delivery system of the same molecule. So by this way, we would be able to protect our patent and get the revenues. This is the strategy taken up by every pharmaceutical company which is having a strong R&D. Now, what are the conventional dosage forms and controlled release dosage form? We discussed this earlier. Let's remind you quickly that we studied the generations of the dosage form. In the first generation, it disintegrates, disaggregation is there of the dosage form, and this dosage form is dissolved. The dissolution of API occurs and it is a spontaneous process. Drug absorption and distribution is based only on the physicochemical properties of API in the first generation dosage forms. These are immediate release dosage forms. Many times they are abbreviated as IR, immediate release dosage forms. Let's move to the second generation. Here the release of API is under control of the drug delivery system and it is called temporal control. So first generation was spontaneous and second generation was the temporal control was there. Now what are the advantages of controlled dosage forms over the conventional dosage forms? Number one, it avoids the fluctuation of plasma drug concentration. Better safety and efficacy is there. Decreased frequency of drug administration. Only once daily administration is required in case of controlled release dosage form. Better patient compliance. When the patient doesn't need to take that particular drug thrice a day, 4 times a day. So always a good compliance is there, a better compliance is there over the conventional dosage forms. We may overcome some problems of bioavailability when we are delivering the drug through the controlled release dosage forms. And it can be much more economical, better cost effectiveness in certain cases. As if we compare the entire therapy, entire dosage regimen in comparison to the controlled rate dosage forms, we will find it cost effective when we also focus the benefit to risk ratio with respect to the better compliance. So we studied first generation. They are unmodified or immediate release dosage forms where their release of API is spontaneous. Second generation, they are controlled release dosage forms of APIs. CR, controlled release, sustained release, these are temporal control. Then we move to the third generation. What is third generation? Third generation is NDDS or targeted distribution of drug in the form of drug delivery system. Now, question comes in our mind, why targeted drug delivery system? The main problem we have to address first, that what are the problems with the conventional systemic drug administration. Number one, the peripheral distribution to all the body compartments is there. When you take a particular tablet, it is going to be there in the entire body with the systemic circulation. It might be the case that it is needed only in a particular part of body or particular organ, but it is peripherally distributed. Number two, the lack of drug specific affinity towards the desired site of action. It is not like that the drug is going to attach to a particular site of action only. Okay, the specific affinity is not there in case of conventional dosage form. And large total dose of drug is required always, because a very small fraction is going to reach and bind or act on a particular site of action, because most of the drug amount is distributed in the systemic circulation throughout the body. So that's why we need the large total doses in case of conventional dosage forms. And the non-specific toxicity and other adverse side effects are there always with the conventional dosage form. And for all these problems, drug targeting is the answer. So targeting is the third generation dosage form, you can say third generation strategy of delivering the drugs. Here the focus is on stability, safety and efficacy. As you can see here, the person is very unhappy because the drug is distributed throughout the body. If a tumor is there in a particular part, the drug goes all the body parts and also in the tumor. So a small fraction is available to this tumor as compared to this case in which the drug is localized to that target only. This is called targeting, and the patient compliance, you can see the patient is happy. We can see in this plasma drug concentration time profile curve, there are so many issues, peak and valley effect. The second generation is there in CR and SR, and here it is the third generation in which the localized drug delivery is there, and it leads to the better patient compliance. Now in targeted drug delivery, we will have to see that which kind of drugs can be given as a targeted drug delivery system. So what are the problems with the drug? What kind of drugs need the targeted drug delivery? There might be many reasons. Drug instability, low absorption, short half-life, large volume of distribution, low specificity and low therapeutic index. Drug is unstable, the drug is not being absorbed properly, and due to short half-life, you have to give it many times a day, and drug is being distributed throughout the body, and specificity is not there. And therapeutic index is a very crucial phenomenon. Okay, that's why we need the targeted drug delivery. Now let's define it. Let's define the targeted drug delivery. Drug targeting is the ability of the drug to accumulate in the target organ or tissue selectively and quantitatively, independent of the site and methods of its administration. Remember the definition. From exam point of view, it is very important. What so far we have studied that there are the different types of targeting is there. So we will be studying the different types of targeting, but we study the dosage form, first generation, second generation, third generation. This is always asked in the examination that what are the benefits of NDDS? What are the benefits of targeted drug delivery? This is almost asked every time. So what you have to enumerate the advantages of the targeted drug delivery over the conventional drug delivery systems. And remember this definition that target organ or tissue selectively, quantitatively, these are the key words, and that too independent of the site and methods of its administration. So remember this definition verbatim. From exam point of view, it is very important to learn this definition. Now, what are the advantages? Let's enumerate them. Simple dosage regimen. You just need one doses in case of targeted drug delivery. Reduced drug requirement and the cost of therapy. No, drug in case of conventional dose form, you might be delivering 500 milligram of a particular drug thrice a day. It means 1.5 gram you are delivering. But in case of targeted drug delivery, you just need maybe if you compare the 100 or maybe 50 milligram in some cases also for throughout the day. So this is the beauty that drug requirement is overall reduced because we are delivering directly to the target organ or target site of action. So that's why the overall drug requirement is reduced, and the cost of therapy obviously goes down as compared to the conventional therapy. However, in many cases, the cost may be higher, but if you compare again, if you see the benefit to risk ratio, it is always cost beneficial. Higher drug concentration at site of action is there in case of targeted drug delivery, and that too without negative effects on non-target compartment and healthy tissues. It is utmost important when we are talking about the anti-cancer therapy. If you give a drug which is not specific in action, it will also exert its cytotoxic action in the healthy tissues also. So we want the specific action. So that's why we go for the targeted drug delivery, that only the tumors will be affected, not the healthy ones, not the healthy tissues. Okay. Continuing with the features that in the targeted drug delivery, the pharmacokinetic PK of the drug is not primarily determined by the physicochemical properties of the API, because we have designed it in such a way that the pharmacokinetic of the drug cannot be determined. Drug delivery system provide altered pharmacokinetic profile here. The pharmacokinetic profile is altered. Now the physicochemical properties of the drug cannot govern the pharmacokinetic. Now we have given this authority to our delivery system. This will govern the pharmacokinetic. The targeted distribution of the drug to the organ tissue is there, and it provides spatial control of the drug delivery. Remember, temporal control, second generation, spontaneous release, first generation, and third generation targeted drug delivery, spatial control. Remember this thing. With exam point of view, these are the three utmost important things you have to address, and you must distinguish these generations on the basis of this control. control over the pharmacokinetic. Okay. Improved selectivity of action is there with the targeted drug delivery. Especially, it is important where the pharmacodynamic selectivity is poor. You can overcome unfavorable pharmacokinetic properties like rapid metabolic biotransformation or elimination or first pass metabolism with the help of targeted drug delivery. Now, drug is not going to the systemic circulation and won't be affected by the first pass metabolism. Okay, and there will be improved tolerability and decreased toxicity when we are delivering drug in the form of targeted drug delivery system. It is non-toxic, non-immunogenic and safe. The polymer used in the targeted drug delivery must be safe, biodegradable, readily eliminated from body. So their safety is a prime concern because we are delivering the drug in the form of targeted drug delivery. So that's why we have to take this thing in the prime attention. We have to give our focus that polymer must be selected very attentively, okay, with full study of pre-formulation. Controllable and predictable rate of drug release is there with the targeted drug delivery system, and there is minimum drug leakage and loss of drug during the transit when we are delivering the drug in the form of targeted drug delivery system. Now let us discuss the other side of the story, the disadvantages. In many cases, it is expensive than the conventional dosage forms. Okay. Though benefit to risk ratio, when we are comparing with the patient compliance, it is favorable, but cost is higher because the polymers are expensive, the devices used are expensive, so they might be the factors which increase the cost. Next important thing is, in many cases there is less mean residence time MRT of the targeted drug delivery systems, and in many cases there is a rapid clearance of targeted system. Adverse immunogenic response against some parental systems or the system which are administered through the parental route. It might be the case of targeting failure. The drug couldn't reach to the target organ or the site of action, or low level of targeting, insufficient localization of targeted systems into the tumor cells. You know, if the drug is not properly going into the target organ, obviously the targeted drug delivery will be a failure. And in case of dose dumping, as we discussed in case of NDDS, the same case may be here because the polymer is also there. Same thing we are doing, that we are preparing a delivery system which is meant to deliver the throughout the day. So if the dose dumping occurs, if the polymer system gets destroyed, or the system is a failure, then what will happen? The entire dose which is meant for the entire body for throughout the day is delivered at once, and the toxicity, other adverse effects, overdoses may occur. So these are the major disadvantages with the transdermal drug delivery systems. Now let us see what are the types of targeting. Targeting can be done in passive and active way. So there are two types of targeting, passive and active. Now let us focus to the passive targeting. The enhanced permeability and retention concept, EPR concept, is there. Passive accumulation of the drug at the site of pathology due to the leaky vasculature and poor venous lymphatic drainage can be availed. What happens then? The solid tumors are there in the body, in the nearby area, in the capillaries, the perforations, these perforations are very prominent, as large as 800 nanometer. In general, they are in the range of perforation, maybe in the normal range it may be around 60 nanometer. And many cases, not only in the tumors, but in cases of inflammation, ischemia, the perforations may be there. And these perforations lead to the passive targeting. Whenever there is a tumor is there, as we can see in this diagram also, that the drug, the leaky vasculatures allows the drug entering into the tumor site. So healthy tissues will remain unaffected. Only the tumors will get the drug from the targeted drug delivery. And this, we are not doing anything. It is a passive process. Okay, just availing that uh, change, natural change in case of presence of tumors. Drug delivery systems with nanometer range only after prevention of opsonization or MPS or RES uptake. Natural homing concept is another thing. You can say either way that we can utilize the natural course of biodistribution of the carrier. The drug or any foreign agent, any xenobiotic is uh, biotransformed or taken up by the RAS and taken to the RAS organ. So this is a spontaneous process and the RAS targeting is done automatically with the passive targeting. So RAS uptake assisted or RAS targeting, we can also say, we can also give the name of give the name to passive targeting, that it is a RAS targeting. Avoidance of passive RAS uptake is called inverse targeting. We can also do, if you want to do the non-RAS organ targeting, we can modify the surface of these delivery systems, and the inverse targeting, sometimes it is called, can be done when we want to target the non-RAS organ, we want to avoid the RAS uptake. Now, what are the approaches? Now, how to exploit the concept of passive targeting? Conjugation of the API within macromolecule, a drug is bound to a biomacromolecule or synthetic polymers via biodegradable linkers. We can either conjugate, or we can manipulate the particle size, or we can develop other nanoparticles. Now see how we can manipulate the uh, targeting with the help of this chart, like routes of administration, ROA, size and fate. Now when we want to target the IA, intraarterial, intravenous or intraperitoneal, if you keep the size 0.1 to 2 micron of that particular delivery system, microparticle, nanoparticle, then it will be rapidly cleared by the RES. So we can do the RES targeting with this much size through any route. If we go for the IV route, if we keep the size more than 7 to 12 micron, then mechanical filtration by lungs occurs. So it can be used for the lung tumors, for targeting the drug to the lungs. If we have again we adopt the IV route, the particle size ranges from 2 to 12 micron, then entrapment in capillary network can be done. So we can target the capillary network here. Now again go to the intra-arterial. We are taking the size more than 12 micron. What will happen? Blockade in first capillary bed encounter will occur there. So with this help, with this chart, we can have a little idea that with the help of particle size manipulation or modulation of particle size, we can target different organs, different site of actions with the passive targeting only. Now let's move to the active targeting. We are just giving a different, a simple approach, that rather we will be discussing the active targeting in our next module, but just to have an idea that how it is different. The drug delivery systems like liposomes, drug polymer conjugates with a specific ligand. You add in drug system a specific ligand like antibodies, FABs, peptides, proteins, hormones with high affinity to the receptor and expose selectively on the target cells. These are called cancer cells. So active targeting can be done with the help of ligands. It means what we are doing, that we are providing a key to the person, that you go and unlock that thing. So you will have to give that key. It is just like providing a key. It means we are doing something actively. That's why it is called active targeting. It is not just passive targeting. Though and rather the active targeting requires much more efforts than the passive targeting, because you will have to do many more things apart from just preparing a delivery system like microsphere, nanoparticle. You will have to add some ligands there, which is having a specific affinity towards that particular receptor. So let's focus on this flow chart. You can see the passive targeting and active targeting. Passive targeting in mean that all the diameters are mentioned in 4 to 7. Like 4 to 7, as you can see here, you can see 4 to 7 is the capillary diameter. We want RAS uptake, lysosomotropism with the help of macrophages and Kupffer cells. It is a spontaneous process. Now what we will have to do? We will have to keep the particle size in this range as it is mentioned here. If you want to target the hepatocytes, bone marrow, splenic cells, tumors, the sieve plate passage, then the size of these particles must be in the range of 0.01 to less than 0.1. However, in active targeting, the particle size range must be in between 0.1 to 4 micron. What are the things which we can do in the active targeting? We can employ the magnetic field, because you have to do something, you have to add some driving factor there. Magnetism is a driving factor there. Lymphotropic adjuvants, PMS blockade, receptor mediated processes and immunodelivery approaches may be availed when we are trying the active targeting, and there are many approaches apart from this. So we can develop the targeted drug delivery system with the help, either with the help of passive targeting or with the help of active targeting. Now these are some references. You can go ahead. There are so many wonderful references. Now let me summarize the module here. Targeting is the third generation pharmaceutical preparation. What kind of control? Spatial control. We studied that in the first generation control, there is no control. It's a spontaneous process. Okay. In the second generation pharmaceutical preparations, temporal control. And the third generation, which is targeted or novel drug delivery, there is a spatial control. Targeting required for many reasons. Targeting we require for many reasons: for the better patient compliance, for targeting a particular organ, for stability, safety and efficacy issues, or you can say rather these are the three governing factors which creates the need of developing the targeted drug delivery systems. The targeting may be done passive or active way. So there are two types of targeting: passive targeting and active targeting. Passive targeting, there are two approaches: EPR concept and natural homing. It's when we avail the spontaneous fate of a xenobiotic or a foreign agent, or you can say API, the natural course of distribution of that thing, when we avail this thing, it is called passive targeting. And particle size modulation, conjugation, they may help in passive targeting. So we have to explore that what kind of targeting we want to achieve, and these approaches differ from one place or one need to another need. From exam point of view, you must learn the types of targeting, passive targeting, active targeting, and their advantages, limitations of the targeted delivery systems. These are utmost important. Just enumerate these things sequentially and focus on the approaches and application. You have to pinpoint some actual applications, examples here when you are answering your questions. So don't skip the application part. What the homework I'm giving to you, that please note down the examples, that wow, what are the examples for passive targeting, what are the examples for active targeting, for this approach you will have to enlist it. So far, so friends, for this module I'm concluding here, and we will be discussing the rest part of the targeting in our next module. Please refer to your books, refer to the journals and the review articles on these topics, and enlist the application and the examples which are very crucial from your exam point of view. Thanks for being with us. We will be coming with the next lecture with the rest of the part of the targeting. Thank you.